So we are Team 4, and today we'll be talking about how we can leverage existing social media platforms for voter education. So human rights activist Luong Ung said that when we vote, we take back our power to choose, to speak up, and to stand with those who support us. The problem is that young marginalized people report a lack of availability to resources and outreach when it comes to voting, in addition to other voting barriers. 110 million plus voting eligible Americans did not vote in the 2016 election. This is important because a large issue with voter turnout is systematic barriers to civic learning, which rob citizens of their voice. This may seem small, but together it can make voting very difficult. Some examples of common voting barriers for young marginalized people is lack of exposure from family and friends, conflicts with livelihood, and lack of information. For example, 28% of low-income individuals stated that a large reason why they couldn't vote in the 2012 election is because of conflicts with work.
And in terms of our target audience, there will be the young marginalized voter because historically more attention has been paid to college voter instead of our target population. And civic leaders need to properly engage with and inform this demography. The nature of physical distancing provides an excellent opportunity for virtual engagement with this community more than ever before. So we raise a question as how might we help young marginalized Americans equip themselves with the information they need to vote?
So the solution we came up with is Collective. And Collective is a system that uses social media platforms to engage with this particular voting population. So we're doing this to inform young marginalized voters and give them direct access to relevant candidate information and voting information at local, state, and national elections. So the tool is planned to use information provided by local and state governments to locate nearby polling centers, push reminders for elections, provide a checklist of voter registration tasks, and otherwise guide users through the obstacles that might otherwise prevent them from voting. So the reason that we decided to use this tool is because social media platforms already try to engage voters in different kind of ways during elections, but not always during local elections or state elections. So we figured why not use some of the framework they already have to kind of jumpstart our outreach and use all kind of various social medias to reach out that way. So two ways we wanted to really narrow down is using info snippets. Info snippets we wanted to use as a streamlined approach to kind of help users figure out how to do common tasks that they normally struggle with. Another approach we're going to use is using videos because a lot of, especially youth, are using videos right now to exchange information, communicate, and just kind of historically with the advent of just smartphones, social media, videos are a really good way to get information out. So we have here a quick user flow, and kind of the reason we wanted to show this to you is to show that we wanted it to be a very low cognitive task for users. We didn't want them to have to think too much when using it, especially because the youth already use these social media apps. They're kind of already familiar with it. We didn't want them to have to leave these apps to go do different things, basically. So moving on to info snippets, the reason we decided to use this in more detail was just because, for example, a user might want to know where the nearest polling station is. Instead of having to leave their app, maybe use Google or use, kind of some other services they may have heard of it or may not have heard about, they can just go to Facebook, look at the very top of the screen and see there's some voting information they can find out about. They have different options about things they just need to know, how they can start voting, or in this particular case, what's the nearest polling center for them. Now for video, again, videos, we wanted to use very brief educational videos nested in something like Facebook Stories or Facebook Live in this particular example, just to get that message out there in the ways our users would already kind of use to get information really quickly. We didn't want it to be long YouTube videos necessarily in this case, but we would have a different idea if it's going to be on a YouTube platform and a different idea if it's going to be on an Instagram platform. We just wanted to make sure it caters to the way the social media kind of gets that outreach out there and the way our users learn. So why we think our vision works is because this kind of vision, this plan will outlive COVID-19. Even once social distancing ends, we will still have a way to reach out to these users and we'll still be able to provide them access to the resources that they need. On top of that, our plan is meant to be cooperative. We want to work with local youth organizers when possible, as well as local civic leaders to help them, or help us facilitate this conversation, communication, and make sure they're kept at the center of our design. In terms of looking ahead, we want an adaptive, persistent outreach. So we're always going to keep these users at the center. As their pain points evolve, we want our resources and features to evolve with them. After COVID-19, we want to start reaching out to local youth organizers to help us get that connection with those specific communities and help those specific communities get direct access to civic leaders as well. Finally, we'd like to rely on viral content creators to help collaborate to make really good videos to really make sure we're consistently reaching out to this youth demographic and keeping them at the center of our design. So that in mind, just the real purpose of this is just to expand the voting power of this key demographic and just kind of promote equity and accessibility in design of the system, specifically for these historically disenfranchised communities. Thank you.